Well, thank you for joining me, Peter. It's a pleasure to be with the User Group conference once again after, 2 years. So the User Group has been synonymous for delivering support and advice and guidance and thought leadership for some 25 years now in the CCTV sector. How relevant do you feel the group is today versus its initial launch criteria?
That's a really good question, Peter. I think it's really relevant. It's probably more relevant now than, or at least equally as relevant as it's always been. But hopefully you'll see from today's event, the first one in 2 years because of pandemic, we've really raised the bar. This event has more people attending it and has more exhibitors than have ever been here. And the feedback is unanimous that it's a wonderful, great success. So in that regard, it's really good. But we've got to remember the challenges remain as they always did. And the fact that technology is moving forward at such a pace, it's clearly outpacing the regulatory environment. So for example, legislation on facial recognition, is leaving people with lots and lots of questions. And again, we're well aware of the ethical issues about ethical procurement. And we're searching for government, we're pushing government to give guidelines to our members. But that's very slow in being developed. I think the challenges remain as they ever have.
So it seems that one of the things that's coming out of the conference is that there's still a disconnect between those that are running the systems from the council levels in public area versus the police. Do you think that there's a conversation to be had there to explain to the public a little bit more about how these systems are operating, what they're delivering?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I also think the public are far more savvy now. If you look at how many homes are installing Ring doorbells, for example, and ring doorbells and the like are very topical at the moment because of the kind of challenges that they pose. The public are actually very savvy about the technology, and they've moved forward. But again, the regulatory environment hasn't done so. For example, two neighbours in a block of flats with both having Ring doorbells facing each other's front door is a massive dilemma, and the ICO have tried to address that today by saying actually we don't give any guidance in that regard. So that's really interesting. I think from my background at Slough and 17 years there as CCTV manager, we did a regular survey and we asked the public a simple question, and that question was, do you believe that CCTV helps to build safer communities? Now, from the 350 people that we asked on the latest occasion, 88% of them said yes to that question. So we know we've got massive public support. And I think part of that is because the public see the local government operation of CCTV as a real benefit and is beneficial for them as citizens of the community that the local government sort of oversee, rather than it being police operated, where there's a connotation of it becoming a police state. Because police priorities for CCTV are quite different from local government and local authorities. For example, the police are not interested in antisocial behaviour and rough sleepers and the lower level of crime that CCTV can help to eradicate. Whereas the citizens see that as a massive problem. ASB is a huge problem for communities. The numbers of calls into local government based around issues of ASB, antisocial behaviour, are massive. Yet the police actually generally don't deal with it. So, it's an important distinction between local government operation of it and police operation. And that indeed was talked about today.
So do you think that there's going to be a step change in the way systems work and are operating? It still feels like there's a conversation to be had because there's still a disconnect.
You're not wrong there at all. Bear in mind there are 43 police forces in the UK, and there are, I think, 400 and odd local government potentially using CCTV. They all potentially do it differently. Right, so part of our role is, through the original development of the Code of Practice, was to try and get people to operate the cameras in a similar way and at least buy into some of the basic values for example, if you look at our website, we've got our values clearly stated, and one of them, the biggest one, is about ethical surveillance and about doing things right, and also not only supplying evidence to the police, but making sure that the defence get access to that video as well.
Quite. It's interesting to hear the debate about the Chinese manufacturers and the ethics behind that. It feels like the group membership is leading that conversation rather than central government.
Well, you're probably aware of the recent issues we've had with the Surveillance Commissioner, where we are effectively being asked to become the regulator, and we're not taking on that role. And this is a non-political organisation. In July 2021, we issued guidance to our members that gives them the information they need to make choices. So it was a risk-assessed-based process about buying foreign manufactured cameras, wherever they might come from. So we didn't mention any particular country. And we said that, there are risks involved in your procurement process, and they are ethical, they are technical, they may be cyber related, they may be financial, and they may be political. So you have to take into account all of those considerations whenever you buy any particular technology. Until the government procurement guidance excludes any particular foreign manufacturers, it's not for us to decide that.
It's good to understand the group's position on that, Peter, and I thank you for taking time to explain that to me, and of course for inviting me to the conference.
Oh, you're always a welcome
guest.
guest.
Back to the
Thanks.
User Group.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.